Welcome to Studio RC. My name is Max, and I am an alcoholic. I want to welcome you today. We're beginning a brand new series. Start looking at the 12 traditions of AA. Now, at Recovery Church, we have our values. We have our 12 values. But one of the things we do is we definitely believe in the 12 steps, and the 12 traditions we use as a guide. Whereas in the AA fellowship specifically, that's kind of what guides their meetings and the business end, and the thought, or one of the joke is the steps keep us from committing suicide, and the traditions keep us from committing homicide. Now, I don't know if that might be taking it too far, but there are a lot of great principles in the 12 traditions. So we're going to take a look each week at a different tradition. And this will be the same intro each time. And because there are 12 traditions, it comes out of the 12 and 12 book, what we're going to do is we're going to take 12 minutes for each tradition and see how much we cover and what we can figure out about that. Now, one of the things I know, sometimes traditions, they're not the sexiest thing going. Sometimes when people find, if you go to a meeting and it's a tradition meeting, you're like, oh, it's a tradition meeting. I think that sometimes the more you get into them and the more you understand them, there are so many transferable principles, not only for the group, but for the individual as well. And so we're going to take a look at that and just see how that guides us, and also how that impacts us at Recovery Church, and how those traditions, how they kind of live themselves out in our context. But so we'll take this opportunity. We're going to look at each one, a different one each week. And so let's jump in right now. Thanks so much, and come on this journey as we take a look at AA's 12 traditions. This episode, we are going to tackle the 6th tradition. The 6th tradition states this: an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. Let me say that again. The 6th tradition states an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. Whew, that's a lot of words. But before we examine those words and we try to figure out what all this means and what the implications are, let's put 12 minutes on the clock. And away we go. So the 6th tradition is interesting. In regards to AA and the fellowship, we found that there were all kinds of goals and motives and ambitions. And the good name of AA could be smeared if we divert from our primary purpose. And one of the things that early AAs discovered is that there are 2 danger areas for recovery and for AA and the program, is that if we could steer clear of these 2 things, we should be able to avoid hazards. And the first one was affiliation of the AA group with anything outside of AA, and any activity that would harm AA as a whole. So what is a related facility? It may be an outside group combating alcoholism, or an enterprise that some AAs wanted to start. We are not to lend the name to like a rehab, or endorse a rehab, like best rehab in the world, sponsored by AA, supported by, endorsed by AA. Or we're not to do AA rehab, that we're going to set up a for-profit organization that has AA in the title. Some individual members have founded successful clubhouses, rest farms, halfway houses, and the enterprises are run by those AAs and even patronized by other members or prospective members, but money and property are involved. And therefore, it has proven wise to keep the operations of the facility completely separate from any AA group and to keep AA or terms like 12 steps out of the name. And so they learn this through the course of experience. So if you ever get to a clubhouse, and clubhouses are usually open most of the day, if not 24 hours a day, depending, and they offer multiple meetings and sometimes different types of meetings, but they themselves are not AA, even though they host AA. They're a clubhouse. They absolutely serve a purpose, but we didn't want to put the name AA associated with that. And so those clubhouses have to be run independent. And so they might have a recovery-based name, but they normally, they don't have AA in the title. In regards to maybe there are outside agencies and they want to help with the alcoholism field, and people in AA are like, oh, we should join alongside of it. We should promote this. We even talked about the Middleburg group with wanting to make that alcohol center. But things like arguments over cost, architecture, staff, all those things take us away from our primary purpose. And those outside agencies, I love this, the phrase that they use in regards. The AA policy is cooperation, but not affiliation. Like, there are groups that are doing some great things for recovery and the world of recovery. And there can be cooperation, but not affiliation. We're never lending the name. We're never endorsing products or different organizations. In one area, money for a rehab was solicited at an AA meeting, implying their affiliation. So that became a no-no. And another, AA was listed among the beneficiaries of a particular fund. And so all of that had to be separate. And we'll get into finances in the seventh tradition specifically. But the group was never endorsing, never financing or lending the AA name. We want to keep the AA name pristine. We want to keep it clean. We want to keep it out of controversy. And we're not giving it to related facilities, outside enterprises. The problems of money, property, and even prestige, gaining in notoriety, divert us from our primary purpose of helping the suffering alcoholic or drug addict get clean or sober. Now, interestingly, what happens in regards to somebody who, because of their experience in AA, feels encouraged to go into the field of drug and alcohol counseling or recovery? Is there any rub there? And the truth is, some AAs are employed by outside agencies, and what we consider, they wear two hats. But Tradition 6 cautions any such members against wearing both hats at once. So if you're an alcohol counselor, you work at a rehab, on the job, even though it may be alcoholism or drug addiction counselors, they are not AA or NA counselors. And similarly at meetings, they're just AAs. They're just members. They're not alcoholism experts. So two hats, but they wear it at different times. So that in this doesn't break the sixth tradition. And the truth is, we need and want people who are in recovery to be in those areas, to help people, to point people to AA and the 12 steps and how important that is and how that will help people. But AA is not lending its name. It's not lending its affiliation. It's keeping completely separate. And by doing that, it allows the group to stay out of the fray. The Tradition 6, it's interesting. Part of why this came about, you can probably, as people got sober, we felt that we might have the answer to a lot of other things. Like, well, we have the answer to this alcoholism problem, and we could probably do a lot of good for this. The AA groups, many thought, could go into business and finance any enterprise, whatever, in the field of alcoholism. They felt almost duty-bound, like we need to support this thing. And so you can understand the challenge of, we got sober, and then now now that we're sober and everybody's working, we're struggling during the day to have people, and oh wow, a rehab pops up and they're helping, or a detox, and we really need that, and that's great, and they serve their purpose clearly. But AA is not going to say, oh, that's the AA detox. So that was part of the challenge of, well, how do we support these things that would help the efforts of alcoholism? And AA said, we're going to stay in our lane. We're going to have meetings. We're going to do 12-step sponsorship, those kind of things. Our thought was, and I think that addicts and alcoholics are often dreamers, if alcoholism could be licked, so could any other problem. We would fix it. We would figure it out. The truth is, our uncompromising honesty might clean up politics, or with one arm around the shoulder of religion and the other arm around the shoulder of medicine, we'd resolve those differences as well. The step book says this in the tradition. I love this. Most alcoholics are bankrupt idealists. So they got great ideas, but no funding to take place. Another thing, we are perfectionists who, when we fail perfection, for many of us as addicts and alcoholics, have gone to the other extreme and settled for the bottle and blackouts and getting high. Providence through AA has brought us within reach of our highest expectations. As we now get sober, as we get clean, we start to live life in a way that we've always wanted to, and we start to realize our goals. And these ideas that we had were like, maybe we can start an alcohol center, for an AA alcohol center, and it could be the model for all the towns, with our 61 rules. And then the 62nd rule, don't take yourself so seriously. We've experienced that, that too many people with good ideas can really spoil the broth. If you've ever been to a business meeting, you might have experienced that. In frustration, in consternation, we saw ourselves, that like AA could get married to all kinds of enterprises. And when previously that happened, some good happened and some not good happened. And we would watch as groups, committed to prisons and asylums. And then some began to cry, there ought to be, a law against this or for this in regards to the person who is still suffering from alcoholism, or to help them at their job. And so, AAs started to thump the tables in legislature committee rooms and would agitate for legal reform. And what that was, it was good for newspaper copy, but little else. It didn't move the mark much, and if anything, it brought negative or controversy. And our experience is we have found it imperative to remove the AA name from clubs and 12-step houses. These adventures in early recovery, as they tried to maneuver through these seas, they implanted this deep-rooted conviction that in no circumstance could we endorse any related enterprise, no matter how good. We of Alcoholics Anonymous, the book says, could not be all things to all people, nor should we try. They give this example of many years ago, the principle of no endorsement was really put to a vital test. Some of the liquor companies came together and they wanted to promote public responsibility. They wanted to show that the liquor should be enjoyed but not misused, and they were trying to garner favor with people in the community. And so they said, you know what we need? We need someone from AA. We need someone from AA to be our spokesperson. That look at these alcohol companies. They're not trying to hurt or ruin people's lives. You know, they really want to do the right thing. And the fellowship stood high in public favor at that moment and didn't have an enemy in the world. And so the liquor companies saw that as a very attractive thing. And the truth is, AA really had to figure out, was this good? They found somebody that they wanted to promote, and they wanted to do alcohol education. And it didn't seem too controversial, but they wanted to use the member's full name in its advertising, Joe Blow from AA, and to describe both as their director of publicity and as a member of AA. Joe Blow, our director of Liquors Inc., is our director of publicity, and he's a member of AA. And so as they looked at it, they understood in this case, not only was an AA member going to break their anonymity at a public level, which is something that we have learned that we shouldn't do, but they were to link the name of AA to this particular education project, which in the minds of millions would be, oh, AA does education. AA supports the liquor companies. And it just would draw undue controversy. We have other traditions, but people are like, how much does it cost? We have no dues or fees. Again, we'll cover that in a different tradition. There's so many questions that people come in with skepticism about AA, and we try to take all of those off the table. Alcoholics Anonymous, recovery, the 12 steps saves lives, and that must come first, the primary purpose. And the person who was picked as spokesperson said, I certainly don't want to be the guy to land AA in big time trouble, and this would really do it, so I'm not going to do it. He pulled back. They ended up not doing it. Concerning endorsements, our friend had said it all. This will cause big time problems. So we saw that we just couldn't lend the AA name to any cause other than our own. And in regards to Recovery Church, we don't hold as fast to that, but Recovery Church has not lent its name or endorsed, financed, or lent the AA name to other organizations. Again, I like that the language that the cooperation but not affiliation. And we're still experimenting and trying to understand the role Recovery Church is going to play in the community. We don't know. And so not all of this for us has been fully formed, and we're still working at what this could look like. And so it's a hard and fast rule in AA, and we definitely take some of our cues from this in Recovery Church. So let me just, again, as we overshot the 12 minutes, but the explanation is AA groups should not get involved with other organizations or causes in order so that they can avoid distractions and conflicts of interest. And the same is true of Recovery Church. The biblical concept here is no one can serve two masters. And, if we're serving the primary purpose or the 12 steps and the one goal, if we're serving those purposes, that purpose, it will stay on course. But when we start having multiple purposes, it becomes a greater challenge, and sometimes we lose focus. The spiritual concept is staying focused on the core mission of helping people get sober and experiencing a spiritual awakening, prevents distractions and maintains integrity and purpose. It is essential that we maintain integrity, essential that we maintain and stay on focus and on purpose, because truly that will help when people come in and want to try to get sober. It's hard enough to try to get sober or clean if there's controversy, if there's not integrity, if there's not staying the course. But even when we do those things, have integrity and stay the course, it is a challenge. But this tradition helps us to not spread the AA name out. Oh, you're just trying to earn money. You're just trying to. We just pull that all off the table and focus on recovery. So, tradition 6. Hope that helped explain some of that. Again, during this tradition series especially, we've asked, make sure you comment. There's so much to talk about and so much ground to cover and so many different understandings of the tradition. We'd love to hear what you think. Make sure you leave a comment, a question, something along those lines, and start up the conversation. We encourage you to like, to follow, to share. Again, we're trying to increase the footprint of Studio RC so that we can impact and encourage as many people as possible. We thank you for coming to Studio RC. I hope you're enjoying this series on the traditions, and we look forward to seeing you next time. But we tell you, Recovery Church, we remind you, Recovery Church, 12 steps, one goal. God bless, and we will see you next time.